So in Illinois, we got this thing called a FOID card, and that stands for Firearm Owner Identification. And we have this civil rights group that's basically saying that this is illegal because in different states, they don't got to do that. That's our Second Amendment right. And we don't need a FOID card or a speaking card to talk. So why should we need one to carry a firearm?
FOID card law, the firearm owner's identification card, is mandatory for lawful gun ownership right here in our state. It's been around since 1968, but a civil rights group argues the requirement is unconstitutional and has filed a federal lawsuit to block it. Joining us now to break down this legal argument is Jacob Hubert, senior litigation counsel with the New Civil Liberties Alliance. Jacob, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Let's walk through this. Talk to me about this. Illinois has already required FOID cards for decades. Why do you believe the law is unconstitutional now, especially after this recent Supreme Court Second Amendment ruling? And has there been precedent on this? Has there been other lawsuits in the past?
Well, this is the first federal lawsuit, as far as I know, directly taking on the FOID card requirement as we're doing. And certainly the time has never been better to bring such a challenge because the Supreme Court made very clear to other federal courts how they should analyze Second Amendment challenges to restrictions on the right to own a firearm. Now, this has come up in some Illinois state court cases where defendants in criminal cases have argued that it's unconstitutional. The Illinois Supreme Court has never weighed in on that. Some lower courts have, some trial courts have said it's unconstitutional, but that just applies to the particular parties in that case. Some of the appellate courts have said that it is constitutional. We think they're very wrong about that. And we're very confident in our arguments that we're bringing to federal court, which is not only that this violates the Second Amendment, but also that it deprives people of liberty without due process of law in violation of the 14th Amendment. You know, normally, if the government wants to take away your rights, it has to go to a court and tell that why, if they think you're dangerous and shouldn't have guns, why that is, and they have to have some evidence for that. Illinois reverses that. It says nobody has any gun rights. Everyone is treated essentially as guilty until they go to the Illinois State Police and convince them that they're innocent and entitled to exercise Second Amendment rights. That's not how it's supposed to work. And so that's the argument that we're presenting to the court.
So I'm just curious here because when you speak, I automatically think of our neighboring state of Indiana. I know in July 1st of 2022, they decided to enact what they call permitless carry, allowing anyone 18 or older who is not legally prohibited from possessing a firearm to do so. Is that kind of what you would like to see here in the state of Illinois?
Well, this lawsuit isn't about carrying. There's a separate law about concealed carry permits, and the courts haven't finally weighed in on whether that's okay. But Illinois goes much farther than every other state in the union except one, Massachusetts.
So on top of you needing an identification card, you also need to get a carry card, a card just for you to even carry the firearm. So one, you got to get the firearm owner ID, which is a FOID card. Then after that, you got to get a card to carry the gun. And then if you don't got your ID, you can go to jail still. It's certain things that I just don't understand. Like, make it hard for a person to protect themselves. Why make it hard for a person to get money and support their family? It's a lot of things that I just don't understand when it comes to Illinois. And to be honest, I'm considering moving out of Illinois because this is a lot when it comes to this stuff, man. They make it hard for us to do anything. God damn.
Massachusetts, saying that you can't so much as touch a gun until you get government permission. That is extraordinary. And that prevents people from exercising what the Supreme Court has said is the core basic right of the Second Amendment, which is to have a firearm in your home for self-defense. Carrying is another argument. This isn't about that. This is just about the most basic right to have a firearm in your home.
Understood. Let's talk about the other side here, because you're always the other side. We don't have that group here, but the state will likely argue the FOID process helps keep guns out of the hands of dangerous individuals. Does the lawsuit challenge background checks entirely, or specifically the licensing requirement?
It's just about the licensing requirement. When you go to purchase a firearm, there is a federal background check that's done on you. This has nothing to do with that. This is just about the FOID card requirement, where to use a gun at all in any context, you have to go get that permit first, which is not necessarily a simple matter. The law says they have 30 days to decide. Really, it amounts to 90 days or more with it works. And then in the past, you've had people waiting much longer to get their approval, 9 months, a year, and just to exercise a right that you're just supposed to have in the first place under the Constitution.
You're right. We have reported on the backlog of the FOID process and it taking an exorbitant amount of time for people to get their hands on that card. Your lawsuit also challenges the requirement that gun owners carry their FOID card while possessing firearms or even ammunition. Why is that provision significant to your clients?
Well, because, I mean, you shouldn't need to carry your papers on you to show that you're entitled to exercise a constitutional right. If you want to speak, you don't need to have your free speech permit in your pocket. You want to assert your right to a jury trial, you don't need to have gone and got the right piece of paper and had it with you. And it's really unreasonable. I mean, bad enough that you have to go get this permit, but then even after they issue it, you have to carry it on you. And if you don't, you commit a violation of the law, just as though you'd never gotten the card at all. But we don't even treat people who don't get pulled over and you don't have your driver's license. Typically, nobody really cares about that. They look, check, oh yeah, you're a licensed driver, and you don't get in big trouble for that. But if you are found with a firearm and you can't show your FOID card, you might be in big trouble.
No, that's a good point. And in fact, we've done stories on that exact thing that you're talking about there. Jacob Hubert, I want to ask you, what's the next steps in this lawsuit?
Well, the next step is for the state to file its response, to argue about why they think we should lose right away. They'll say that they're allowed to do this under the Second Amendment, and then we'll have to file our own brief about why they're wrong about that and why this does violate the due process in the Second Amendment. And the court will issue a decision, and no doubt whoever loses in front of the federal district court in Chicago will appeal to the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Seventh Circuit, and we'll go on from there.
Well, Mr. Hubert,
Yeah, man, this is pretty crazy. I hope that they do win, because I honestly think that they need to give us a goddamn break. Chicago, people is getting slaughtered like it's going out of style. I think we need to have the right to defend ourselves, even for felons, man. We got to come up with a plan to help people protect themselves against criminals. Like, I'm a regular person who's staying in Illinois. How do I supposed to feel if, one, I got to go get a card to own a firearm before I even touch it? Two, I got to go through another process of even carrying a firearm. And then three, I only got 10 shots, man. The legal limit in Illinois as far as ammunition is only 10 shots. Let that sit for a second. 10 shots? You got people out here carrying 30s and switches and 50s, robbing people. Like, it's just a whole event up north where they was just robbing random people, making them zeal their money away. And it's like, how do that work, man? How do it work? But until we meet again, my friend, I'm out. Let me know what y'all think in the comment section. And like, subscribe if you feel like it. If you don't, you won't. But it's your boy Schoolie, I'm out.